thank you. I'm, you come from halfway around the world, and it's my distinct honor to be sitting with you here today, especially in lieu of some of my work recently. If all of you don't know, has been working with women in technology, and what Michael is going to have to talk about today is going to be so amazing and insightful. So let's get started. Now, Michael is the host of a podcast called the Discipline Disruption Podcast.
Yes.
Now, if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend you doing that. It is so incredibly insightful. I can't think of a better word. It's really incredible. Now, Michael, I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
Since my area of expertise is mental toughness, and I have to think that we need to be mentally tough, and especially women need to be mentally tough when it comes to the topic of disruption. So can you shed a little light on that?
Absolutely. No, thanks so much for inviting me here, and it's really an honor. And I think that mental toughness, which you mentioned, is such an important topic, and you can't actually deal enough with the topic. And it's one of the things which comes up on the podcast with the guests as well, the whole mindset, which is an element of the toughness. And I think the toughness is really that one which you need to develop some skills, because when we look at today's environment, I mean, you all have that situation. There's more and more disruption happening. Complete industries are disrupted, businesses are disrupted, and therefore also your roles are changing. And that's what I'm seeing more and more. And the question is, how do you prepare for that? And how do you kind of create that that toughness in your mind? How do you expand your tool belt to deal actually with those situations? Because one of the biggest challenges is you don't know where tomorrow's disruptor is coming from. So you actually have to...
Let me stop you for 1 second.
Yeah,
that
sure.
is kind of a big topic to wrap one's head around. We don't know what's coming, so how on earth do we prepare and plan? So that leads into my next question, and I'm glad you were going that way anyway, is if we don't know what's happening, how can you give us just 1 or 2 ways to plan for it?
Absolutely. When you think it's really, and that has dramatically shifted, and I think that's probably one of the key messages I want to send, that our environment has dramatically shifted. In the past, we had a relatively clear view on our competitive landscape in general terms. I know there are exceptions, but in general terms, it was relatively clear. Or you could kind of see a new competitor emerge and grow, and get more relevance. Today, within basically 12 months, you can see and have a completely new competitor who is taking 90% of your market share, and that's kind of the way and the situation you need to deal with it. So what can you do? So it's really becoming, and that's for me one of the most important things, is becoming more agile. And there's a lot of talk about agile and agility. Yes, absolutely.
You're probably going to explain what that means,
Yeah.
but can you be very explicit what agile means?
Yeah, so it absolutely, everybody uses agility and flexibility and things like that. What I mean here is really using the agile framework and methodology. Or the Scrum framework. We co-founded by Jeff Sutherland quite some years back, which you might have heard of in the context of either software development, project management. These are the typical areas. So when you are in the technology area, I'm sure you've come across that and maybe even experienced that. What is interesting today is that this methodology is used more and more in other areas like marketing and sales and product development, and I've seen that everywhere. But I go even one step further. So you can use this methodology now for your personal life and how you manage yourself. So you as an individual become more agile. And the way you do it, you use the same board and plan on the key activities and have this kind of this rolling forecast and make sure you have that flow.
So is that, let me just ask, because a lot of times when I talk in terms of mental toughness, so this is very interesting because I can help people have the mindset to prepare and manage disruption. But the missing piece here is what Michael has to offer, and that's actually how to do it. But a lot of the people, when it comes to mental toughness, they think that it's just a few of the chosen few that can be world-class performers. And I know sometimes when it comes to agility and managing disruption in business, that it's just a couple of those savvy people that can maneuver through it effectively. But what I'm hearing is it's similar to mental toughness and that they're learned skills. Is that right?
I completely agree. I think it's one of the things. Actually, I think most of things can be learned nowadays. I think we're kind of coming into an age where we have this this clarity that actually most things can be learned, and therefore I think work like you are doing with the mental toughness and how to improve that and get better with it, and the same like skills in new methodologies, you have to learn them. You have to kind of get your head around that. You'll kind of you might struggle in the beginning, but you get better and better as you do it.
Now let me ask you, and I don't mean to discriminate because you
Yes.
are a guy,
Yes.
and I don't mean to make this just for women, but now women have a particular challenge, especially in technology. So
Yes.
there's a lot of, it's kind of like a triple whammy because there could be a lot of changing technologies, so they don't know how that's going to affect their position. There could be a change in upper level management, which of course could affect them too, excuse me. But then there's the trifecta of being female in a typically male driven business, which I felt that way back in the day. You know, I used to be in institutional banking, and so I'm like a little bit frightened by the fact there hasn't been a shift in banking as far as how it is for women and how many women are in it. So if you incorporate women in technology, can you give us a tip or a tool especially tailored for them to how they can manage disruption?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if there's a, and yes, I'm a guy, so obviously I'm coming from that perspective and working with women either as clients or on teams or even as and in all kind of functions and relationships. So I'm coming more from that angle. I think most of these tools do apply on either side, for both genders. It's probably more an awareness kind of how you deal with the situation in your organization being that female, and probably creating that network. But also, and that's probably one message I'd like to send, is make that kind of that networking and that not exclusive then of your male colleagues. So almost play the leading role, and that might be the suggestion here, that you actually you lead by example, and also integrating basically the males, and not saying, oh no, all the females, all the women get together in an organization and they have this movement going on, but make it inclusive with everybody. So that's probably the one I would suggest.
Okay, great. So what I'm hearing from you is not just band together with all the women, but in your march, two things. First of all, look inward, take control, get some clarity of what you want, take control of the disruption, and then incorporate men and women.
Absolutely, yes. I think that's a big step forward.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of, if the men don't do that in your organization, then start you doing that and just make it something natural, a natural habitat, and then kind of most men hopefully are following you, and I think then you become the leader you want to be.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that's at all different levels, from administration to middle management to upper level management. It seems like this could play out and be super impactful at any level. Michael, thank you so much. I've learned so much just in the last few minutes. Now, if you would like to follow Michael, please can you let us know how to follow your amazing work?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So one is obviously check out the podcast, Discipline Disruption Podcast. So either you type in Michael Alf into the iTunes store. So it's Michael, kind of like Michael, and then the surname is Alf. Or you go to michaelalf.com, and there you find other material which might be interesting and helpful in your progression of your career. Okay,
awesome. So if you want help in the areas of mental toughness and how to manage all those things in between your ears to be world class at what's important to you and to be world class at disruption, I can help you with that. If you want to get some further insight on disruption, not just how to manage it, but how to predict it, please do follow Michael. He's been amazing. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.